I'm Jason Isaacs, and I play Archie Leach in this show. It's the story of a man who needed to become the most famous person in the world to try and make himself feel better, and it didn't work. And what we do is we pull the layers back on this iconic movie star and show you all the demons that haunted him and the ways that he tried to get over that. Well, first of all, I didn't know Cary Grant's work that much. I had to watch all the films when we started. And it was very intimidating until I found out more about who he was. I would have been terrified to play Cary Grant. He's obviously the icon of sophistication and smoothness and, I don't know what, enigma. But the man off screen, the real man in life, was such a bundle of trouble and neurosis and anxiety and was continually seeking some way to make himself an inch closer to the icon that he built. And it seemed like a very human story to me. What I loved about Jeff's script, what I love about the story we're telling and the way Paul is telling it, is that nothing's very simple. My friends are asking me, what is this show about? And tell me about Cary Grant. And the answer is 4 hours of television. The answer isn't 2 sentences. His journey wasn't smooth and it wasn't straight. He needed to become the most famous person in the world, and still that didn't fix the hole inside him. So I think everybody will find bits of themselves in his journey, but it's extreme. His life experience when he was a kid was extreme, and the way he conducted his affairs when he was older to try and keep himself from falling apart was also extreme. So Laura Aikman plays Diane, who it turns out lives about 200 yards from where I live in London. We'd never met before. And she's just remarkable. I realised I'd seen her in dozens of things without knowing it was her, because she's such a chameleon. And she's just infinitely flexible. There's something about Laura that makes every scene feels like it's not been written. It feels like we're improvising it. She's what you want from a partner. She's completely in the moment. She talks to Diane, I know, all the time. She feels like I do, a responsibility to try and be as truthful as we can to what happened and also tell a good story. And she can do anything. She just has access to emotional wells that I can only dream of. It's true that Diane's been incredibly helpful. A lot of this is based on her book. And Jennifer, Cary's daughter, is heavily involved and contributing. But that's their unique perspectives. And I've tried to look for many other sources, as many as possible. I've read every biography there is. I've read minutes of board meetings when he was at Fabergé and at MGM and stuff. The one unbelievably useful source is an interview that was never broadcast. He wouldn't give recorded interviews. He didn't let people record things. Good luck trying to find them if anyone's looking. But I found a young man who was a student who interviewed him from the university radio station, and unbeknownst to him, his friend was recording it. And he's never broadcast it because he knew that Cary Grant would have been very upset, but he let me listen to it. And I listened to it a lot, and it's a sound that no one's ever heard. It's as close as I'm ever going to get to meeting him. And I found that very useful. There's a lot of people who think they can do Cary Grant's voice, and they're wondering if I'm doing that voice. But what they're really doing is either Tony Curtis from Some Like It Hot or some impressionist voice. I've watched all the films, broken it down with my dialect coach, and listened to it, and his accent changes an awful lot. But I've had access to a recorded interview that no one else has ever heard, that's never been broadcast. And he doesn't sound like that. He was very careful about how he sounded on screen, just like he was very careful about how he looked on screen. Like he was very, very dark all the time. He had to be the darkest skin on screen. But in real life, his voice was much more English, and he didn't resolve everything with that incredibly kind of macho, iconic tune, which is what makes him easy to do an impression of. So I'm trying to sound as much as I can like I think the real Cary Grant sounded like, and not like he made himself sound in the movies, which is a different thing. Paul is an extraordinary man. I nearly worked with him once before. We tried to do something and it didn't work out, and we couldn't do it. And I was kind of surprised when I heard his name associated with this, because that's not the work I thought that he did. And then when I looked him up, I realized he's far more eclectic than the box I'd put him in. And he's an amazing man. There's very few people I would humiliate myself for and trust in the way that I have with him. He took this script, which is already a great script, and ripped it apart and did some very surprising things with it. He's come at this thing in the most extraordinary kind of kaleidoscopic way. I mean, Cary Grant took hundreds of LSD trips. In a way, Paul's brought some of that unjoined up thinking to this. So we're shooting different formats. Sometimes we're old characters meet young characters. We walk through time zones together. Sometimes we say all the things we want to say in a scene instead of the things that are written. And I can't wait to see how he puts it together. But I'm not sure there's been many people in my life that I've trusted as much and been prepared to make such an idiot of myself on camera for. And I feel like I'm in safe hands in the edit. I can't wait to see it put together. For me as an actor who's known lots of very famous actors, come across them, and always, literally every time, been surprised by who they really were off screen, I think it's nice to bring to the public a reminder that they shouldn't buy any of the nonsense that they read or see or filter on their phone, that behind that story there's always someone, probably someone troubled. The more famous they are, probably the more troubled they are. Cary Grant, as he said, sometimes people said, I really would love to look like Cary Grant. He said, so would I. He didn't look like that. He didn't sound like that. He certainly didn't behave like that. It was important to him on screen that his women, always younger women, co-stars, pursued him. He pursued women. He fell for people head over heels. He phoned them every single day. He sent flowers until they were getting restraining orders or begging him to go away. He cried. He was depressed. He was enormously emotionally volatile in many ways. He could also be that incredible, charming thing. He was many, many things. He code-switched, it seemed to me, but he was always seeking peace. Always. Through a million different methods. And you'll have to watch the show and find out if he gets any.